Welcome to Tailor Made Chaos. On this podcast, we'll bring you some of the highest flyers and most interesting people in and around the fitness industry. We'll talk and laugh with CEOs, franchisee groups, exercise specialists, and to those who work in sales and marketing, and will share their insights and knowledge of all things related to the business of fitness. Love what you hear? Make sure you like and subscribe to keep up to date. On with today's show, proudly brought to you in conjunction with Fit Into Shape, a small but dedicated team of fitness industry professionals, delivering on all of your fitness equipment and gym design needs.
Welcome to another episode of Tailor Made Chaos. Today we are here with a lady who really doesn't need any introduction, and I'm very proud to say she took my cherry on podcasting. I don't feel like I'm taking any cherry that belongs to you, Mel, but I am really looking forward to tonight's session. In what seems to become an unwilling tradition of ours, we seem to be drinking a lot of my podcast.
We are.
I don't have a problem with drinking, but maybe other people do. So for those who do live under a rock, Mel, can you just give me a little brief introduction of who is Mel Tempest?
Who is Mel? Mel is a club owner in Ballarat, celebrating 22 years in business in August, September. And behind the scenes, Mel is a caravaner, so a nomad.
Right.
So we love caravanning. I've got a couple of grandkids, and we have a boat, but I'm not an official woman. What else can I? A fisher person, yeah. And what else? I love teaching classes. That's the only reason I have a club. You know that. And that's about as much as I can tell you.
Okay.
Although I am admiring the pink bottles in the background there.
Well, Mel, we're going to talk about your wonderful attire shortly. It seems to be, something of great attention. But look, what I'd love to do in tradition of any podcast that I host is I always like to do a bit of a journey of how people came into the fitness industry, and that starts right at the beginning. So who was Mel Tempest as a little young... Am I allowed to say girl? We're not talking in pronouns on this podcast, are we?
No, we're not.
Okay, so as a young lady, who was Mel?
All right, so Mel was conceived on the beach at Black Rock. On the beach at Black Rock.
Your parents talked to you about your conception?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And they married on Boxing Day, and they boxed their very short marriage. And my mum won't mind me saying that. But outside of that, my grandparents raised me from when I was about 6 or 7. And I left school at 14 to sell hot chips and dim sims at the local Coles variety store back in the days where they had a takeaway bar. And met my husband and married my husband around 18, 19.
All right, so we're jumping really quickly through the years.
We are jumping really quickly because I do have an autobiography which is probably worthwhile reading, Glen.
Yeah, look, for people who don't read, let's do the audio version.
You want to do the audio version?
Yeah.
Okay.
So school, what were you like? Were you a sporty kid? Were you academic? You said you left at 14, but...
I wagged school, so I went to lots of different schools as a primary school child.
And did you grow up in Ballarat?
No. My parents raised us in Frankston.
Okay.
And then when my parents...
Now, this explains a few things.
In Marriage Road.
Yes.
They separated, and I went to live with my mother's father on the beach in Aspendale.
Yep.
And then at about 6 or 7, she had to make a decision on... She had 2 children, myself and my sister. She had to make a decision about her own future as a woman. And so she decided that my sister would stay with her and I would go and live with my grandparents, my father's parents. So that happened when I was about 8. My father spent most of his life in prison or in a psychiatric ward. And my grandparents raised me. So didn't really spend a lot of time at primary school, let alone spend a lot of time at secondary school. Left at 14, I was a bit rebellious. You can understand the background in being that. And went to work in, takeaway bars and do all of those types of things. Went roller skating when I was about 16. That's where I met my husband.
Sweet.
Yeah, and we married, as I said, at 19. We had a child when we were 18 who unfortunately passed away at birth. And yeah, we've been married for 40 years this year, and there's a lot of story in that. I'm just giving you the short version, but quite a traumatic upbringing. Felt like I was set up for failure before I was even a teenager. So there was always a little voice in my head that sort of, when I'll prove those people wrong, how dare they set a young person up for failure before they're even given the chance at education. Unfortunately, I did leave school early, but that was kind of a traditional thing back in those days.
Yeah.
Boys usually left at 15 to get a tradie job as a bricklayer or a plumber, and girls left school to be a hairdresser. So it was kind of a trend back then.
Well, the outfit you're in, you could have made a great hairdresser.
Well,
did you ever go into hairdressing?
I did work experience hairdressing. It was not my thing. I always wanted to be a nurse, but didn't stay at school long enough.
Okay, so
I failed miserably at school.
Yep.
And it's really quite interesting. I went to a clairvoyant when my youngest, I've got 3 children, so when the youngest was about 18 months old, and she told me then that I would go back and be some type of teacher. And at that stage, I didn't believe that, because my background, I stumbled into the real estate industry by lying. So told a great big lie that I was an amazing receptionist and an amazing, what we call a typist back in those days. And I rang.
Was it a big lie or just a slight exaggeration?
It was a big lie. No, it was a big lie. And I also rang the gentleman that was opening up this real estate every day for 12 weeks. Give me a job. And he finally gave me a job as a receptionist on the reception desk. And I had a really successful real estate career, which kind of set up the foundation for the success being in the fitness industry. So I was very good at reading people and understanding what their needs were. So I progressed from the reception desk into sales and then into running some real estate offices.
So I feel like I've missed a little section there. You lost your child at 18, and obviously that was a horrific experience. But one that so many women obviously go through, and so many men for that matter. What sort of happened after that? Did you decide that you were trying for kids again, or?
So we weren't married at that stage. I went in for a normal checkup at the hospital at about 36 weeks. They said you need to stay. You've got what they called back in those days eclampsia. I was in hospital. They come around one day just to check blood pressure and all those things that they do, Glen. And they said, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm feeling good. And they said, well, this is what's going on. Family was rung. I was rushed up to be put into labour. And after 38 hours of natural labour, there was an emergency situation. And I had an emergency cesarean, and our son only lived for 36 minutes.
It's probably a good thing that we're drinking here. Maybe that's a good thing to be drinking too, but obviously a hard time in your life. So what did you do from there? What was your next steps?
There weren't any next steps. Back in those days, there was no counselling or anything like that. You were sent home to get over it. As I said, we weren't married at that stage. So it really was a case of go home, pack up the nursery, and go back to work. There was no counselling, there was no grief groups, there was nothing like that whatsoever. The hospital didn't do anything for you. You were really sent home to work it out for yourself.
And without dating either of us too much, when was this?
So this happened in September 1984.
Okay. So you were obviously fairly young at that stage, as we talked about. You said you went back to work. What were you doing in work? Were you in real estate at that point?
No, definitely wasn't in real estate then. I was just doing casual work filing in cabinets and doing that type of stuff. Worked for Centrelink for a little bit of time. And then I went from there. We decided to get married. And believe it or not, fell pregnant on my wedding night. And 9 months later, our son was born, Christopher, who's 40 this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it got a fairly happy ending.
It does have a happy ending, but
Yeah, I mean, not all happy endings are fairy tales, right?
That's true.
So you had your son, you then went the real estate thing happened.
All right, so I had my son,
Yeah.
and then I was doing temporary work, like doing filing and stuff like that. So I actually landed in a real estate office to do some filing. Girl didn't turn up for work. They said, could you just sit on the desk? All you got to do is answer the phone. So I did that, and I did a couple of other things in the office just to help out. And it was a job that went for 3 days because it was when you worked for temp agencies. And the gentleman that owned the real estate agent came out on the last day and he goes, I don't know what it is about you, but I think that you would work really well in the real estate industry. There's just something about you that you understand what people need.
Yeah.
And back then I was a little bit immature. I was like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah. You come to value what that
Yeah,
statement means
yeah.
now.
And then I went on to have my daughter.
Yeah.
And then it was time for me to sign up, like get a job. So I actually, my
So we're
first...
still living in Frankston at this
No,
point?
gosh, no. By this stage, my husband and I, no. So
Yeah.
I was raised in Heidelberg in the Commission area.
Okay.
So very street kiddie orientated, understand.
Heidelberg wasn't as fancy as what it
It's
is
not
nowadays.
as fancy, yeah, back then, Commission area. So very street smart and streetwise, hence why I don't take a lot of bullshit, and I'm very down the that's how it is kind of language.
Yep.
And my husband and I moved to Melton. All right, so then I got a job selling land.
Yep.
So selling land at Hoppers Crossing when blocks of land were like $40,000.
Yep.
Out at Wallen. All of these types of places, sat in a little site office selling people blocks of land. And then I went on to sell house and land packages with some incredible brands. And then I got a job working in a real estate office on the front desk. And this is absolutely emphatically true, 100%. I've been there for about 18 months. And they were advertising for a salesperson. And I was like, I really want this job, you know. And they were like, it was back in the day where women only answered the phone and, you know, you weren't allowed to do anything else. And I worked in an office in a high ethical area where the 12 salesmen were either Italian, Greek, Indian. There were no women. And so what I did one day was they all went out and did their rounds to look at houses that had just come on the market and they were selling them. And they all walked back into the office. And I said, oh my God, somebody rang up about the sales job. And they're like, yeah. So they're all around the desk. And I said, they've got their sub-agent's license, which I had at that stage, and it wasn't very hard to get. Got their sub-agent's license. I think I was like 22, maybe 23.
Yeah.
I think I added on like a year, like, they're 23 and they've got like, 18 months experience in the real estate industry. And they're all standing there going, get them in, we need this salesperson. And in those days, your chairs were on, like wheelie things.
Yeah.
And I flung around, I go, and here she is, it's me, I want the job. And they all turned around and walked off. And they said, no, your job is behind the desk. So I heard about this gentleman that was opening up a real estate agent. I rang every single day for like 12 weeks, got a job, and then I progressed from there into sales, into running real estate offices.
So that was kind of the start of you telling people to...
Yeah. I mean, the reality is whether you're female or male, you should be allowed to have a go at what you want to have a go at. Nobody should stand in your way. And when people do stand in your way, you have to actually ask yourself, what is their agenda and why are they doing this? Because human to human, we should encourage everybody to have a go. If you fail, that's okay, but you have a go.
Yeah.
We should never try and make a decision for someone and say, no, you can't do that, sorry. Like, who are you and why are you telling me that? Because one life, one chance, we should all be having a go at what we want to do.
So at 22, you got into sales in real estate.
Yeah.
How long did you stay in that industry and working in sales?
So I was in the industry for around about 10 years.
Okay.
And so what happened was my grandfather who raised me, my grandmother had passed at that time. My grandfather who had raised me was diagnosed with cancer. And so I left the industry to take care of him. So when I say take care of him, keeping in mind I had children at that stage, that meant driving from Melton to Heidelberg pretty much every second day to make sure, and this is before the freeway, this was like, an hour and a half to get there, just to be there with him, talk with him, all of those types of things. And then he passed away. and I had a lot of time on my hands. And my girlfriend, who I had worked with in real estate, said, let's join a gym. And I was like, a gym? Like,
so you weren't into the fitness industry?
Oh, God, no. I think I went and did an aerobics class when I was about 18, 19 with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to her, oh my God, what would it be? What would you have to do to be an aerobics instructor? And that's when it was like just star jumps and running on the spot.
Yeah.
And she was kind of like, why would you want to have that as a job? And that was the end of that moment.
Yeah.
So we joined Melton Waves Glen on a Docker deal. Shopper Docker deal. This is true. 21 days for $21. That was it. And it was Melton Waves, and it was back in the days when a young guy working behind the desk called Anthony, who's quite high up now at a very well-known brand. He was like the lifeguard receptionist, and I was like, the member. And then my husband, about 4 months into that journey, said, do you think it's time to go back to work, to doing what you do, socialising and stuff like that? And I went, no, I think I want to be an aerobics instructor.
So what prompted him to ask that?
I think he was just concerned about that I was going to the gym, but I wasn't doing anything else.
Yeah.
And I think it was just more out of love, concern, and mental health.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I think I want to be an aerobics instructor.
So a real sliding doors moment, right?
Yeah. And so living in Melton, signed up at Ballarat TAFE. It was a 6-month course. You went 2 days a week, and came out the other end.
So what's Melton to Ballarat? That's a good hour and a half.
So that was an hour back in those days.
Yeah.
And I remember I just got through all the exams, just got through this, just got through that. But when it came to the group fitness part, mate, I was there. Wells, bells, whistles, the whole lot.
Most group fitness instructors are a high style personality. I think as we sit here in the highly visible
in
pink,
the jacket.
for those who are listening on this on audio,
fishnet jacket is creating quite a conversation.
It
it's
is
hot
quite
pink.
a conversation piece for those not watching on video. Go tune in and watch us on YouTube or watch the video. But so high style sort of personality, you just shone in that sort of thing, and really
I just
loved
it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Got my first couple of jobs at Melton Waves and squash racket centres, teaching circuit classes. Then was trained in Chai Bo, which we all remember back in those days, Billy Blanks. And
still famous.
Yeah, still famous. Taught classes at a local YMCA. Wanted to teach a dance class called Body Jam.
Okay.
And the group fitness manager, who I aspired to be like, said no.
Okay.
That's never going to happen. So I went home to my husband and said, I want to open a gym.
Why do you think that was said?
I just think that was just one of those things that, a woman just didn't want another woman to do something. I'm being very politically nice now.
No. I mean, look.
Yeah.
It is certainly...
It's an ongoing issue, Glen, in our industry. There's a lot
it's not just our industry,
It's not.
honestly.
In every industry. There's a lot of amazing people, whether they're group fitness instructors, whether they're lawyers, whether they're whatever in the industry. There are women that hold other women back.
Yeah.
And we need to recognise that. And we need to support those women that want to shine, and we need to deal with the women that are holding those women back.
Look, I don't think that's exclusive to male or female.
I've seen it in male. Don't worry about that. I've seen it there.
But that was kind of one of those driving forces for you. So you're teaching in Melton. Now, knowing the history, you opened a club in Ballarat.
In a church hall.
So excuse my language, but how the fuck did you go from Melton
So we'd
to
moved
Ballarat?
at that stage. We'd moved in between that stage. We built a house in Glen. So now I'm travelling Glen to Melton. And then our 2 oldest kids had to go to secondary school. So we then moved from Glen to Ballarat.
Got it.
So I sold my dream home to move to Ballarat.
Yep.
And when I made the decision to open a gym, I had no idea what I was doing. And I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. And so what we did was we purchased second-hand gym equipment for about 18 months. And you might go, why 18 months? Because every gym in Ballarat knew I wanted to open the gym, and so I was black banned and I couldn't get work. And we had these bikes down the hallway of our house. And I used to hang the washing on the bikes
That's like most people's home gym
Yeah,
equipment.
down the hallway I was hanging equipment in winter. We had to pack up our kitchen table and chairs to put the dumbbells, and so we had to use our house as like a storage unit.
Yeah.
And our 2 teenage kids absolutely despised their mother because their house just looked like this great big warehouse. But anyway, we found a place and we opened up in the church hall, and we were 5 years into that journey and moved into the building that we're in now.
Okay.
It was called Tumble Time. It was a playground, indoor playground for kids. The lady decided in the middle of the day that she didn't want to do the business anymore. And so we've a story to that too. But anyway, we were able to move into that as a gym.
Okay. You moved into a gym. You say you had no idea what you were doing.
And I mean, I had no idea what I was doing.
So how did you learn to become a good operator?
I made a lot of mistakes. So my accountant came and knocked on the door after we'd been open for 6 months, and he goes, "Now Mel, you have to pay BAS." And I was like, what the fuck is BAS? And so
a lot of gym operators ask that question.
so I learned that one really quick and moved on from that. But made a lot of mistakes and lost a lot of money in the process, but learnt a lot that I've been able to pass on to other gym owners.
So did your husband, was he supportive?
Oh,
of the
absolutely,
journey?
He has his own career,
Yeah.
and that's really important that you have your own separate identities.
Yeah.
We don't live in each other's pocket. So he has his career and I have my career. But yeah, it's been a really interesting journey.
So you're there now in this building, you've started to expand. You've learned a lot of lessons sort of along the way. Where are you at now in your career? Obviously, you're further progressed in life than what you were. What next for Mel Tempest?
So what I do now, Glen, is I still teach pretty much every day because that's why I opened a club.
Yeah.
That's why I'm there every day. The rest of it is an accident, you know. Everything that's happened is an accident. You know, doing the podcast, going to it is an accident because I really am there for group fitness.
Yeah.
I do spend a little bit of time doing fundraising for research into brain tumours because, as you know, in 2013 I was diagnosed with a brain tumour and I still live with that each day. So I do a little bit of fundraising for that.
Yep.
But what does the future hold for Mel? Will be the landlord of the business that I sell because my husband and I do own the freehold, so we're very fortunate.
Yep.
And we were able to do that because of my real
strategy, though.
It is, and I was able to do that because of my real estate background. So I was a little bit manipulative in how I went about purchasing the building. But I would love to work in the industry full time, helping club owners, you know, with resources and tools, helping them generate income. Pretty much what you do. You know, I love what I do. Sometimes I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm quite comfortable where I am financially in life. I've got 3 healthy children. I've got 2 grandchildren. So now it's time to give back.
Cool. I don't know, what else do we want to talk about?
I don't know, Glen. What would you like to talk about?
I think, we talked about your attire. Where did this beautiful gown come from?
So this jacket, I was at the Health and Fitness Association.
Firstly, I must say this is a caveat. I don't think I've ever talked about fashion, and I'm not sure that I'll ever will talk about fashion ever again on my podcast. But continue on, please.
Okay, I like to have a statement piece if I'm speaking, whether it's a jacket or whatever. Anyway, I found this at the Health and Fitness Association back in, where were we? In Vegas in March. And it was a very cheap acquisition and people keep telling me, don't say that, but it was. And yeah, I've just worn it to the last couple of events and everybody likes it. They keep saying, oh, it looks a little bit Lady Gaga. But I think it's important if you're presenting that you do have something that differentiates yourself from everybody else, whether it's what you're wearing or what your topic is, because people will remember you.
Yeah.
I always say people will never forget your name. They may forget your business name, but they'll never forget your name, and they won't forget what you're known for. So quite often people go, you're known for your jackets.
Yeah. Look, I'm a massive believer in your personal brand is stronger than any other brand that you carry. And I think, you've stamped your personal brand by having that distinctive jacket, and that's really cool. And, it's probably a great marketing and business lesson for anybody to take away that, you want to stand out for something.
Yeah.
you know, and whether it's a purple jacket or your green jacket or your yellow one or all of the attire. I mean, the fact that I can, as a non-fashion type person, identify some of the things that you've worn over the years, I think, you know, that's probably, you know, a real identifier. So I think, you know, in business, you've talked about group fitness. Would you say that's probably been your, you know, point of difference with the club over such a long period of time?
In terms of success in our community, absolutely, group fitness. We've got 3 group fitness studios. We're always evolving. There's always new innovation in our club. But I also do give a lot more back to the industry. Great at, you know, creating profit centres for club owners. I can walk into your club and go, I think it could try this, could try that, and make a difference. As long as you're open to unfiltered conversation with Mel, I love to have conversation. I do challenge the status quo, but it's always for the betterment of the industry and for the business. I'm not out there to vilify people, but if you do the wrong thing, then I don't have a problem in calling you out. And you should never concern yourself about working with Mel, because if you're doing the right thing, you've got nothing to worry about. So, yeah, that's the basis of it, Glen, to be honest with you. And like you, I always lead with purpose. It's not about popularity, it's about purpose. And as long as we're doing the right thing, we've got nothing to fear.
Very good.